Bagicha has sort of come back to life over the past 2-3 weeks. Winter over here is very tough. So everybody takes a beating here in the winter. Everybody takes a beating in the winter. Everybody takes a beating in the summer. And now Holi is on. And starting on the Ekadashi, Parikram started, but Parikram really picked up in the evening of the Ekadashi, and it went straight through the night with people blowing horns and playing musical instruments. And I mean, the Parikram Marg was really packed from one side to the other, and it went all through the night, and it went all through the next day, and it went into the evening, and finally it tapered off about midnight. So Holi is quite serious. And on Gaur Purnima and the day after Gaur Purnima, that will be like the days of Holi where over here we just lock the doors and we don't go outside because it's too dangerous. It really gets dangerous here during that time. I went with Balaram Baba to Barshana on Barshana Holi, and we left probably about 5-ish in the afternoon. So we got out there late, and it was, we walked up the stairs to get into the temple, and it was really packed from one side to the other. It was just jam-packed. But we got into the temple, and the darshan was packed there also, but Baba and I were able to get a nice close-up darshan. So that was special. Last time I went to Barshana for Holi was probably about 30 years ago. And Baba and I went during the day at that time, and we had just buckets of color poured over us. You know, it was so wild. But this year, you know, we didn't get colored up so much. I think one of the things also is that when you're old, people don't harass you so much, which is one of the nice things about being old, if we can say that there are nice things about being old. Okay, so today I would like to do, I'd like to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And for those of you who have read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know that Kaviraj Goswami, he begins the work with the Mangala Charanam. Okay. Any author who writes, any Vaishnava author who writes, he'll present auspicious verses in the beginning of the work, you know, just to create an atmosphere, an auspicious atmosphere for the endeavor that he's undertaking. And Kaviraj Goswami, he really undertook an extraordinary endeavor, because he's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's really presenting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates in the light of the revealed scripture, so that people can understand that, you know, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that he has come with his first expansion, who is Nityananda. And he has come with the Mahavishnu avatar, who is Advaita Acharya. And he has come with his personal Shakti, who is Sri Radha in the form of Gadadhar Pandit. And he has come with Srivas Thakur as the marginal potency, as Srivas. So he really is a big philosophical work that he's undertaken. And for those of you who have read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know that, the beginning of the Adi Leela is very thick philosophy. It's very, very thick, and it's very, very deep. It's sort of like reading, Prabhupada's, first purports in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, all of Prabhupada's purports are jewels, but those first purports, they're like very long and, very packed with information. So Kaviraj Goswami, he does this also. And what I will do is I will read the verses. I will read the 14 verses of the Mangala Charanam. And then what I will do is I will jump to chapter 3. Now what he does, Kaviraj Goswami, what he does is he the 14 verses of the Mangala Charanam, he explains, he gives sort of like an overview. And then in the, second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter, he takes up explaining different specific verses of the Mangala Charanam. So what I will do is I will read the Mangala Charanam, and then I will jump to chapter 3, and which explains Lord Chaitanya's external reasons for appearing in this world. And I guess I'm doing that because Purnima is just around the corner, and we should all start, getting our minds into meditating on the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's nothing more important for us in life than accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. There's nothing more important for us in life than realizing and accepting the compassion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's nothing more important for us in life than to see the, the love and compassion that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his mission had to offer to all of the humanity of this world. And we should understand that because we're the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And our personal lives should be a reflection of that gift of Mahaprabhu's compassion and the gift of Mahaprabhu's humanity, that everybody was supposed to be saved. Nobody was supposed to be left behind. We should endeavor in our lives to understand that feeling of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that when he would contemplate, the fallen condition of the souls in this world, his heart would become aggrieved. And we understand that to some degree, and therefore we dedicate ourselves to the mission of Lord Chaitanya. But we should try to feel that more and more like a living force, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, he felt distress in seeing people suffer. And when we look out at humanity, and when we see people who are simply in Maya, and when we see people who are constantly intoxicated by the shining and the glittery effects of the Lord's illusory potency, and they invest so much energy of their life for just diving deeper into that illusory potency of the Lord, we should feel impelled to do something for them, because we know that they will have no benefit other than, the repetition of birth and death. Ashradadana Purusha Dharma Sisya Parantapa Aprapyamam Nivartante Mritu Samsara Bhartane Aprapyamam. They'll never be able to get Krishna. Nivartante. They will fall down into what? Mritu Samsara Bhartane, the repetition of birth and death. So we should really feel for them. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's people, we should want to do something for them and for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, all of us have heard so many times over the years in our practice of Krishna consciousness that it's more than just, keeping tilak on our foreheads or kanti on our neck or sikha on the back of our heads, as being the example of a Vaishnava. But a real Vaishnava follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will want to take up the mission of helping to extricate people from this just vast swamp of illusion that people are lost in. So that can be part of our meditation, with Gaur Purnima coming up. Lord Chaitanya, please, your mercy is so great. Make me an instrument in your hands. Make me an instrument in the hands of my spiritual master. Make me an instrument in the hands of the Vaishnavas to do something good for the people of the world, to give them, the Maha Mantra, to give them the teachings of Lord Krishna, to give them prasadam. Let me do something, to try to lift them up. Okay, so first I'll read the Mangala Charanam and then we'll jump to chapter 3. Text 1. Bande Gurun Isha Bhaktam Isham Isha Vatarakam Tat Prakasham Tat Chakti Krishna Chaitanya Sangyakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnation, his primary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Bande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodido Godadai Pushpavanta Chitra Sandal Tamonado. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and to Lord Nityananda. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Jad Advaitam Brahmopanishadi Tadapyasya Tanuda Ya Atmantayani Purusho Iti So Shanksha Vibhava Shadaishwarya Purno Ya Iha Bhagavan Saswayamayam Na Chaitanyat Krishnaj Jagati Parataptam Paramiha. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. So what the Upanishads, in the whole Vedic realm, are describing as the impersonal Brahman, that's the effulgence of the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the Lord, known as the Super Soul, is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no truth is greater than or equal to him. Anarpita charim chirat korunaya vitirna kalal samarpayitam unata ujvalarasam sabhakti shriyam Hari purada sundara duti kadamba sandipikaha Siddharidaya Kandares Puratu Va Sachinandanaha. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So we'll read this verse later in the 3rd chapter, but we can safely say that this is what Lord Chaitanya came to give to all of us, all the people of the world. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. He is resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, and he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So he came to give what is the most sublime thing, and that's conjugal love. And no incarnation had ever done that before. When the Lord appeared in his form as Lord Ramachandra, he taught everybody how to properly follow prescribed duties in life, the Varnashram Dharma. When Krishna appeared here 5,000 years ago, he taught so many things, but he concluded with Sarvadharmam Parityagya Mamekam Sharanam Braja, surrender. That was his final order. And he spoke Gita to his close bosom friend Arjuna. And Arjuna, we know he was a man in despair. And after speaking, the Lord said, "What will you do?" And because Arjuna was such an ideal person, he said, "I will surrender." But not everybody surrendered. And so when the full incarnation of Krishna came again 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He just said, I'm going to give them what I've never given to anyone before. And that's going to be a sublime gift, and that's going to be the gift of Madhurya Rasa, or loving Krishna in the form of the young ladies of Braja. Text 5. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Rasmad Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Puradeho Pitam Katao Tao Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Adunat Tatvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhavaduti Subhavitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. The loving affairs of Shri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and the complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So here he's revealing the internal identity of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he explains that their pastimes are a manifestation of the internal pleasure-giving potency. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vitirladini Shakti Rasmad. He's making that very clear so that the people of this world will not think that the activities of Radha and Krishna are like the activities of men and women of this world. And he says, although they're one in identity, they separated themselves before. But now these identities have again come together in one form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He says, so I bow down to him who has manifested himself in this world with the sentiment and the emotions of Sri Radha and the complexions of Sri Radha, although he is Sri Krishna himself. And then in text number 6, Shri Radhiya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vaniyaiva Swadyoyi Nadbudam Marudima Kidrisho Vamariya Sokam Chashyamad Anubhavada Kidrisham Vedivo Bad Tadbhavadya Samajani Sachigarbha Sindhu Varendu. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachidevi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So in the Anarpita Charim Charat verse, it's basically a declaration of what the Lord came to give us. And in this verse, it's explaining what the Lord came here to taste himself. So he says different things here. First point, desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love. Radharani's love for Krishna is so profound that not even Krishna can understand it. Many times we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita and the writings of our other Goswamis that Krishna feels that he has love for Radharani, but he can't comprehend how much love Radharani has for him. Desiring to understand the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love. Like Krishna saying, why does she love me so much? Well, what is she seeing in me? You know, what is it that impels her to show this type of love? He couldn't understand. And this sounds interesting because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he's supposed to understand everything. But the secrets of love can even bewilder him. Like the other day, we went to Javad, and we took Tota Gopinath, Radha Priya, and somebody who was visiting. We took them there also, and yes, Jadikanda and her husband to be. We took them to see Javad and to take that walk in Javad. And sometimes in Javad, Krishna, he'll appear, he'll come, disguised as a Devi from heaven. And when he first comes and he sits with Radharani, they're saying, this Devi, she's so beautiful, you know, she's so astounding. And but she's very shy. So the girls, they entice this Devi to begin speaking. And the Devi, she basically, who is Krishna, the Devi basically presents, you know, her argument as, how can you love such an unfaithful person as Krishna? And, you know, she starts giving arguments. Krishna starts giving arguments. And then Radharani, what she does is she just opens the treasure chest of her heart. And she starts telling Krishna in the form of the Devi, you know, how wonderful he is and how much she loves him and how his love is faultless. And when Krishna hears his own beloved Sri Radha speaking in this way, he starts, you know, he starts becoming overwhelmed with ecstasy. And he has to move his dupatta that he's dressed in so that, you know, they can't see that the hair on his arms is starting to rise up and the bumps are all over. And still, you know, the Devi says, no, he's an unfaithful lover. And Radharani says, no. She says, he and I are like one soul in two bodies. And I know his love is so pure and it's so great. And she says, even if I just meditate on him, he will appear in this place in a moment. And so everybody, you know, Lalita and Vishaka and the Devi, they start saying, yes, you know, start meditating on Krishna. And she sits down like a yogini and she begins to meditate. And when she does that, Krishna, very quickly, he jumps and he takes off all of his Devi clothes. And he sits down next to Sri Radha, and the girls start saying, Radha, look, he has come, he has come. And Radharani opens her eyes and sees that Krishna is sitting there. And then Radharani says, where did the Devi go? And the other girl said, oh, she became so shy and so afraid when she saw Krishna that she ran away. So Krishna, he just really wants to understand what is this powerful love, the nature of the love that she has for me. And what is the sweetness that Sri Radha tastes? What is she realizing when she tastes the sweetness of my love? He couldn't understand that. So to realize that, he came and he took birth from the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi. And just like the moon, appears from the ocean. A very beautiful poetic example. Yeah, and even in the Bhagavatam, after or before the rasa dance, Krishna, he disappears and he's just very close and he's observing the gopis and he's observing the state of madness which they all go into and, feeling his separation. And when their feelings of separation are so powerful, then Krishna reappears and the gopis are very happy. And that's all described in the Gopi Gita. He reappears and then they want to, understand what type of a lover he is. And at one point Krishna says, no, he said, please, you must understand, that I was never really indifferent to you. And I never stopped thinking of you for a moment. He said, in fact, your love for me is so powerful that I can never repay you. So I just have to ask you that you accept that type of spotless love as the highest reward that I could possibly give to you. And Krishna, in the Gita, he says, Jejatamam prapajante tangstataiva vijamyaham, I reciprocate. But he tells Sri Radha and he tells the gopis, your love is so phenomenal that even I cannot reciprocate that love. So just to understand that, Krishna came back as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so he could try to enter into that ocean of love. So those are the verses regarding Lord Chaitanya. The rest of the verses are about Sri Nityananda and Advaita Acharya. And then the explanation begins. So now I'm going to go to the database on my computer, if I can get there. Can you still see me? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Hello?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, we can see.
Okay, so I'm going to just begin reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 3 from verse 1. Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Bande Jad Padashraya Viryata. Okay, I want to get my own database up here so I can see it, so I can see what's happening. And I'm getting your database up here, so I'm going a little crazy. Okay. Sangri Natya Kara Vratad Agya Siddhanta Sanmanimi. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the potency of the shelter of his lotus feet, even a fool can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truths from the minds of revealed scripture. Isn't that nice? As I offer my obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his potency, even us foolish people, we can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truths from the minds of the revealed scriptures. These people were real poets. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Text 3. I have given the purport of the third verse. Now, O devotees, listen to the meaning of the fourth verse with full attention. Anarpita chirim chirat korunaya vitirna kalau. Samarpaitam unata ujjvala rasam sabhakti shriyam. Hari purada sundara dutikadamba sandipitaha. Sada hridaya kandare spuratu va sachinandanaha. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he is descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So he came to give what no incarnation ever gave before. And what is that? The most elevated mellow. And what is that? The mellow of conjugal love. This is a quotation from the Vidagdha Madhava, a drama compiled and edited by Sri Rupa Goswami. Text 5. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Braja, is the supreme Lord. He eternally enjoys transcendental pastimes in his eternal abode Goloka, which includes Brajadam. So the verse is Purna Bhagavan Krishna Brajendra Kumar Goloke Brajara Saha Nitya Vihara. In the previous chapter, it has been established that Krishna, the son of Brajendra, the king of Braja, is the supreme personality of Godhead with 6 opulences. He eternally enjoys transcendently variegated opulence on his planet, which is known as Goloka. The eternal pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual planet, Krishna Loka, are called aprakrita, or unmanifest pastimes, because they are beyond the purview of the conditioned soul. Lord Krishna is always present everywhere, but when he is not present before our eyes, he is said to be aprakrita, or unmanifest. Brahmara ekadina chinho ekabara avatirnahana karine prakata vihara. Once in a day of Brahma, he descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. Satya Treta Dwarpar Kali Chari Yuga Jani Se Chari Juge Divya Eka Yuga Mane. We know that there are 4 ages, yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwarpar, and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Divya Yuga. Ekatara Chaturyuge Eka Manvantara Choda Manvantara Brahmara Divasa Vitara. 71 Divya Yugas constitute one Manvantara, and there are 14 Manvantaras in the day of Brahma. A Manvantara is the period controlled by one Manu. The reign of 14 Manus equals the length of one day, 12 hours in the life of Brahma, and the night of Brahma is of the same duration. These calculations are given in the authentic astronomy book known as the Surya Siddhanta. An annotated Bengali translation of this book was compiled by the great professor of astronomy and mathematics, Bimal Prasad Dutt, later known as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, who was our merciful spiritual master. He was honored with the title Siddhanta Saraswati for translating the Surya Siddhanta, and the title Goswami Maharaj was added when he accepted sannyas, the renounced order of life. So, okay. Vaivaswata name e saptama manvantara satta isha chaturyugi tahara antara. The present Manu who is the seventh, is called Vaivaswata, the son of Vivaswan. 27 Divya Yugas, 27 times 4 billion is 4,320,000 solar years of his age is now passed. So he explains now in the purport just the name of the 14 Manvantaras. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with the full paraphernalia of his eternal Brajadam. So it's an interesting point for us to understand that when Krishna appeared, 500 years ago, it was not just like a Yuga avatar who was coming. It was not like a Vishnu form of the Lord who was coming to do the work of Pradiktanaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Chaduskritam. But because of the different ages in Brahma's life and the Manvantaras and the Manus, the different Manus, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, it was actually the time for Krishna in his original form to appear in the world. And it says he came with full paraphernalia and his eternal Brajadam. So we'll read what Srila Prabhupada says. Now is the term of Vaivasvata Manu, during which Lord Chaitanya appears. First, Lord Krishna appears at the close of the Dwapara Yuga in the 28th Divya Yuga, and then Lord Chaitanya appears in the Kali Yuga of the same Divya Yuga. Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya appear once in each day of Brahma, or once in 14 Manvantaras, each of 71 Divya Yugas in duration. That's a lot of information. From the beginning of Brahma's day, 4,320,000,000 years, 6 Manus appear and disappear before Lord Krishna appears. Thus, 1,975,320,000 years of the day of Brahma elapsed before the appearance of Lord Krishna. This is an astronomical calculation according to solar years. And I'm sure that you're all such good mathematicians that you can figure all those zeros out. Okay. Dasya Sakya Vatsalya Shringar Charirasa Chari Bhavera Bhaktayata Krishna Taravasa. Servitude, Dasya, friendship, Sakya, parental affection, Vatsalya, and conjugal love, Shringara, are the 4 transcendental mellows, rasas. By the devotees who cherish these 4 mellows, Lord Krishna is subdued. So it's an interesting thing here. Well, he didn't mention, he begins his description from servitude, from Dasya. Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Shringar are the transcendental modes of loving the Lord. Shantaras, or the neutral state, is not mentioned in this verse, because although in Shantaras one considers the absolute truth, the supreme great, it does not go beyond that conception. Shantaras is a very grand idea for materialistic philosophers, but such idealistic appreciation is only the beginning. It is the lowest among the relationships in the spiritual world. Santaras is not given much importance because as soon as there is a slight understanding between the knower and the known, then active, loving, transcendental reciprocations and exchanges begins. Dasyarasa is the basic relationship between Krishna and his devotees, and therefore this verse considers Dasya to be the first stage of transcendental devotional service. So here, Shantarasa is not considered. Because in Chantaras, there's no exchange between the knower and the known, or between the Lord and his devotee. Absorbed in such, okay, dasya sakapita mata kanta ganalana, braja krida, kari Krishna prema vistahana. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Krishna enjoys in Braja with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and his conjugal lovers. The descent of Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is very purposeful. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who knows the truth about Sri Krishna's descent and his various activities is at once liberated and does not have to fall again to the existence of birth and death after he leaves his present material body. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viditattataha chakchatetam vitarpana naiti sorjuna. In other words, one who factually understands Krishna makes his life perfect. Imperfect life is realized in material existence. In 5 direct relationships we share with everyone within this material world: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and amorous love between husband and wife, or lover and the beloved. These 5 enjoyable relationships within the material world are perverted reflections of the relationships with the absolute personality of Godhead and the transcendental nature. That absolute personality, Sri Krishna, descends to revive the 5 eternally existing relationships. Thus, he manifests his transcendental pastimes in Braja so that people may be attracted into that sphere of activities and leave aside their imitation relationships with the mundane. Then, after fully exhibiting all such activities, the Lord disappears. So there's, like, we have this saying in English, I think it's Shakespearean, there's method in his madness, meaning Krishna comes, but when he comes, and when he manifests his activities in the different relationships, he has a purpose for doing that. And he does it so that people will be attracted away from always wanting to engage in those relationships in their perverted aspect within the material world. And we see everybody's absorbed in that. They want conjugal love, or the love of mother and father, or a son, or friends, or whatever. But who was it, that Vaishnava poet, Govinda Das? What is that line? Edina Yovana Putra Parijana Iti. I forget now. He says, my dear mind, whoever assured you there was going to be, satisfaction and happiness in your youth or in wealth? I mean, all of us, we've known one another, many of us have known one another for 25, 30 years. We look totally different than what we looked back then. Like when I met the devotees in Russia, I was only 42 years old. Now I'm 72 years old. It's a completely different creation. Edana Yovana, wealth, youth, putra. People think if I only have children, I will become satisfied. And whenever I think of that, I always joke and I say, well, it can't be, because so many of our parents, they had children to be happy, and then their children became Hare Krishna devotees, and everything went upside down. Puta Parijana, the society of friends. Like in the material world, people have their friends, but when the hardships come, their friends can't be found. And so the poet Govinda Das says the only happiness that can really be found is when one absorbs oneself and meditation upon the lotus feet of the Lord and engages in one's devotional service. So Krishna comes for that purpose. He comes, he wants people to see what is real relationship and how can I have this real loving relationship which is free from the intoxications of materialism. Yateshta vihari Krishna kare antardana kare mane kare anumanam. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. I will not read the Bengali. For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without these loving sentiments, the existence of the material world is useless. I mean, and that's something that we can all attest to. You know, living in this world without loving Krishna, living in this world without the prospect of engagement in devotional service, absorption of the mind and thoughts of Krishna, living in this world without the prospect of having Vaishnava association, living in this world without having the prospect of seeing and serving deities or hearing katha. It's just the whole material world is useless. It's just a dark place which is only meant for death, nothing more than that. So he says, for a long time, I haven't really given loving devotional service. He said, and without such loving sentiments, this whole world is just, it has no value. And he says, everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Brajabhumi. So that's can be thought of in so many different ways. It's like we have so many friends in the world who are practitioners of different paths of religion, or they follow some different dharma. And it says here, Krishna says, I acknowledge everybody is approaching me, but mostly they do it just because of the orders that are given in the Shastra. And we see that so much even in the Vedic tradition, that so many people, like the Vedantists, they know everything about Vedas and transcendental nature, but they don't understand that the goal of the Vedas is to know and love Krishna. So Krishna here himself, he says, but simply following regular principles of scripture, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Braja. And then again, anarpita chirim chirat korunaya vachirana kala. Samrapaitam unata ujjvala rasam sabhakti shriyam. I want people to have unata ujjvala rasa, that highest rasa, which is madhurya bhav. And only regulation of the Shastra, it won't award that. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion, which is made feeble by such reverence, does not attract me. I mean, this is Krishna's words himself. He says, everybody is looking, oh my Lord, oh my Lord, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, hey Bhagawan, oh Allah, Allah, Allah. Everybody is looking with veneration, but that type of devotion is made weak by reverence. And he says that type of reverential devotion, it doesn't attract me. So in Prabhupada's, okay, we're going to jump the purport because we want to try to go ahead because already we're at 6:30. By performing such regulated devotional service and awe and veneration, one may go to Vaikuntha and attain the four kinds of liberation. So this is a very clear statement for us here. It's not a matter of argumentation. He says, Aishwarya Gyane Vidi Bhajan Kariya Vaikuntate Yaya Chaturvida Mukti Prana. You perform devotional services simply based on rules and regulations. You can get perfection, but when that perfection comes, you're just going to go to Vaikuntha, and you're not going to go to Goloka Vrindavan, where you can attain that sweet mood of loving devotional service. These liberations are Sharshti, achieving opulences equal to those of the Lord Sarupya, having a form the same as the Lord Samipya, being a personal associate of the Lord, in Salokya, living on a Vaikuntha planet. Devotees never accept Sayuja, however, which is oneness with Brahman. And we don't want to accept, we Vaishnavas, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we don't want to accept any form of liberation. Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatad Bhakti Rahai Titi Twai. Mama Janmani Janmanishwari, birth after birth. Bhavatad Bhakti Rahai Titi Twai. There's only one thing that I want, Lord. Mama Janmani Janmanishwari, I don't want liberation, but I want your pure devotional service. I want your pure bhakti, which is infused with the transcendental loving sentiments of the residents of Goloka Vrindavan. This is all I want. Nothing more than that. And for that purpose, I can stay wherever I am. It's not important that I go anywhere. I can stay in Dubai, I can stay in Russia, I can stay in America, I can stay wherever it is. Because when I have your devotional service, everything will become transformed. It's just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains in his song Shuddha Bhakata. He says, when there's kirtan in my home, he says, when I see the deities of the Lord in my home, he says, my home becomes transformed, and it's the spiritual world. So let us read on. So now, Yuga Dharma, Pravar Taimu Namasankirtan, Chari Bhava Bhakti Diya Nachamu Bhuvana. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. So there's method in this idea of Krishna. First, he's going to show pastimes, and then he's going to inaugurate the religion of the age, which is Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy names. And so it's very safe to say that this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that we chant is like a specific mantra which specifically is meant to instill the spirit of spontaneous devotional service within our hearts. And because he says right here, he says, I will personally inaugurate Nam Sankirtan, and I will make the world dance in ecstasy. And when they start dancing in ecstasy, they're going to understand Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. They're going to realize that just through doing Nam Sankirtan. So this is why we widely being the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the disciples of this parampara, we just widely spread this Harinam Sankirtan so that people will get that higher taste for pure loving devotion to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. Apani karimu bhakta bhava angikare, apani achari bhakti sikaimu sabari. I shall accept the role of a devotee and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. But Krishna is telling us the whole plan right here. I will accept the role of a devotee and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. So I will read Prabhupada's purport. When one associates with a pure devotee, he becomes so elevated that he does not aspire for shashtis, sarupya, samipya, salokya, because he feels that such liberation is a kind of sense gratification. Just, to have the same form as the Lord, to live on the same planet as the Lord, to just be able to associate with the Lord. This is just, he feels like this is sense gratification. Pure devotees do not ask anything from the Lord for their personal benefit. We never ask for liberation. Even if offered personal benefits, pure devotees do not accept them because their only desire is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by transcendental loving service. It's just like Prahlad, Nrsimhadev is pushing him. You please accept benedictions. And Prahlad says, no. He said, I know that you're the best giver of benedictions, but I don't need anything. I don't need anything. Whether I'm in heaven, whether I'm in hell, if I'm chanting your holy names, I'm always with you. I'm serving you. What more do I need than that? Or Kulavecha Sridhar in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. The Lord would scream at him, take something, take something, take something. Kulavecha wouldn't take anything. And finally he said, okay, I'll take something. And the boys were like, wow, he's going to take something. And the Lord said, well, what do you want? And he said, well, there's this one, beautiful, very, Chalu, Hitri, Brahmin boy in Navadvip who performs Nam Sankirtan, and he always comes to me and he steals my bananas, That boy, I want to be the eternal servant of his lotus feet, birth after birth. That's all I want. That's the benediction I want. And then the Lord said, okay, take it. All the devotees are Haribol. No one but the Lord himself can teach the highest form of devotional service. Therefore, when the Lord took the place of an incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the system of worship recommended in this age, he also distributed the process of devotional service on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. No one can teach it but the Lord. So when he came to give Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he also gave the process of transcendental spontaneous love. He gave the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love. To teach the highest principles of spiritual life, the Lord himself appeared as a devotee in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Unless one practices devotional service himself, he cannot teach it to others. This conclusion is indeed confirmed through the Gita and the Bhagavatam. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of your religion, at that time I descend myself to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. If I did not show the proper principles of religion, all the worlds would fall into ruin. I would be the cause of an unwanted population and would spoil all of the living beings. Whatever actions a great man performs, common people will follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the worlds pursue. Such my plenary portions can establish the principles of religion for each age, but no one but me, however, can bestow the kind of loving service performed by the residents of Braja. He says, only I can do it. You know, my plenary portions, they can all come and they can do Puditranai Sadhunam Vinashaya to do Skritam. He said, but only I can come here to teach people how to love the way that they love me in Braja. There may be many all auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who other than Lord Sri Krishna can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? Therefore, in the company of my devotees, I shall appear on the earth and perform various colorful pastimes. Thinking thus, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself, descended at Nadia early in the age of Kali. Thus, the lion-like Lord Chaitanya has appeared in Navadvip. He has the shoulders of a lion, he has the power of a lion, and he has the voice of a lion. May that lion be seated in the core of the hearts of every living being. Thus, with his resounding roar, may he drive away everyone's elephantine vices, or our vices which are as big as elephants. Like many times when you go to Navadvip and probably over here in Vrindavan also, but I know for sure in Mayapur, you see the gates of all the Gaudiya temples. And I'm not sure if it's on Mayapur Chandradoya Mandir gates also, because I can't remember, I just can't remember. But generally you see like an elephant up on the gate, and you see like a lion on the back of the elephant, and the lion is just like biting into the elephant, and he's like ripping away at the elephant. And that's the symbolism, you know, that made Chaitanya Simha, may that Lord who is like a lion, may he attack the elephant-like desires which are within our hearts. And by his grace and by his love and by his mercy, may he rip them to shreds. So that explains Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why he came for us. He is very kind and very merciful. He was personally Krishna. It wasn't a representative of Krishna. It wasn't an incarnation of Krishna. It was Krishna himself. And he came imbued with the sentiments and the complexion of Sri Radha. And he presented us with a very special mantra. A mantra that if we chant this mantra, it will awaken our feelings of spontaneous devotional service and spontaneous attraction to Krishna. And that is the type of devotion that Krishna loves. So we're very blessed to come in this family of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to be the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in the parampara of Lord Chaitanya. And with the Gaur Purnima coming up, we should all meditate on Lord Chaitanya's grace, and we should pray for his mercy, And we should pray that we always be tools, in the hands of our spiritual masters, our Parampara and Lord Chaitanya, and distributing this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the desires of Lord Chaitanya, and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and serving the Maha Mantra in the name of Lord, in the way that Lord Chaitanya wished that we would. Okay, thank you very much. I have one of my god brothers who's coming over to visit me at this time, His Holiness Sri Tadvija Maharaj, so I should be ready for him coming. Everybody say a special prayer for His Holiness Kadambakanana Maharaj. He is really approaching the end of his time in this body, and we should all pray that Radhe Shyam and Krishna Balaram, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really swiftly allow him to go to his eternal devotional service of the divine lordships in Goloka Vrindavan. Okay, thank you all very much. You all have a very wonderful Gaur Purnima, and we'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Prabhu, Jagan Prabhu, will you end the meeting?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.